Hello, dear friends. Dear students, so far reproduction in living organism chapter is concerned. We have discussed about types of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, various types we have seen. Then as far as sexual reproduction is concerned, we have seen about sexual reproduction in human beings. Now next part, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants, we have to start. This will be a end of the chapter from this first term. So as far as flowering plants are concerned, while studying in 9th standard, we have discussed about classification of plants. In that, angiosperms are called as a flowering plants. The plants which bear flowers and whose seeds are enclosed inside the fruit are called as angiosperms. So how reproduction in angiosperms or in flowering plants takes place, that we are going to discuss about in this series of lecture. Dear students, here on the screen you can see longitudinal section of flower. लॉन्जिट्यूडनल मतलब एक फ्लावर खड़ा करने का, एंड देन उसको ऊपर से नीचे तक अगर काटते चले गए तो उसके बाद एक सेक्शन हमें दिखेगा, उसको बोलेंगे हम लॉन्जिट्यूडनल सेक्शन. ट्रांसवर्स सेक्शन जिसको हम ट्रांसवर्स ले लेते हैं, ठीक है. So in this longitudinal section of flower, you can see different parts of flower. Let us see one by one. You can see here the green part which is shown, it is called as a sepal. So this is the outermost part in bud condition. It is outermost part in bud condition which protect flower during bud condition from external injuries. After this, you can see petal. Petals are the colored parts of flower. As far as cross pollination where it is required, there is a requirement of showy flowers so that they can attract insects. So this is called as a petal, which is in different colors to attract pollinators from different agencies, like let it be insects, let it be honeybees, let it be some other birds, and so on. So these two parts, sepal and petal, are collectively called as non-essential wholes. Non-essential wholes. So these non-essential wholes, why? It doesn't mean that they are not essential, but it means that they are not directly taking part in the reproduction, in the sexual reproduction. Hence, they are called as a non-essential parts. Then which are the essential parts? As far as flowers are concerned, essential parts are androecium and gynoecium. As far as androecium is concerned, the unit of androecium is stamen. Here this is a stamen. So stamen consists of anther and filament. So this part, yellow part which is shown here, it is called as an anther, in which pollen grains are present, whereas the strip holding the anther above, they are called as filaments. Now this androecium or stamen is called as a male reproductive unit or a male reproductive part of flower which produces pollen grains. After androecium, there is a presence of gynoecium whose unit is pistil. So pistil consists of stigma, which is upper part, where actual pollen grains are landing. Pollen grains get germinated on the stigma. Next part is a style. This style is a connecting link between stigma and ovary. It is a pipe-like structure which connect stigma and ovary, and when pollen grain get germinated on the stigma, when pollen grains get germinated on the stigma, the pollen tube is formed between the style, inside the style, and that pollen tube reaches till ovary. So ovary is the third part of pistil, that is gynoecium. Pistil is a unit of gynoecium. It is also called as a carpel. It is also called as a carpel. It is also called as a carpel. Okay, so these are the three parts of pistil, that is stigma, style, and ovary. So these all three parts consist of are called as female reproductive organ in flower, female reproductive unit of flower. So here these two holes are called as, that is stamen and pistil, are called as essential holes. They are called as essential holes because they are directly taking part in the process of reproduction. Okay, now next part is, here there is a need to carry anthers from to carry pollen grains from anther to the stigma. So as far as this part is concerned, there are two types of pollinations. Now let me tell you what is meant by pollination. Pollination is transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. This is called as a pollination. So there are two types of pollination. They are self-pollination and cross-pollination. They are self-pollination and cross-pollination. When pollen grains of the same flower are transferred to the stigma of the same flower, then it is called as a self-pollination. Whereas when there are two plants and these are two flowers suppose, and pollen grains of this plant transfer to another plant's flower, then it is called as a cross-pollination. So self-pollination and cross-pollination, these are two terms which are used while describing pollination. So for pollination purpose, there is requirement of pollinators also. So what is meant by pollinators? Pollinators are the agencies which transfer pollen grains from anther to stigma. So there is a need of some medium, there is need of some agency to transfer pollen grains. Pollen grains automatically will not get transferred, isn't it? So there are certain agencies, certain medium which carries pollen grains from anther to the stigma. They are wind pollination, they are insect pollination, they are bird pollination with the help of birds. So these are different. Even water is there. Okay, even some animals are also playing very important role to transfer these pollen grains from anther to the stigma. So you might have seen honeybees always moving around the flowers. It is to collect the honey from the flowers, but at the same time they are doing very important work of transferring pollen grains from anther to the stigma. So these are called as pollinators. So self-pollination and cross-pollination you might have understood. Now let's see what exactly happened after pollination, once pollination taking part in the flower. Once pollination takes place, then these pollen grains are getting landed on the stigma. These pollen grains are getting landed on the stigma. You can see here some pollen grains have transferred from anther to the stigma here, and these pollen grains are landed on the stigma. Once pollen grain get landed on the stigma, at that time these pollen grains are getting germinated. This is a pollen grain. Two pollen grains have landed on the stigma. These pollen grains will get germinated. So how a plant or a stamen will recognize the pollen grains? We have seen chemotropism in earlier chapter, that is life processes. What is chemotropism? Certain chemicals are produced by plants, or certain chemicals are recognizing the right type of pollen grains. So stigma produces certain types of chemicals which attract pollen grains. So these pollen grains, when they landed on the stigma, they recognize the right stigma, as well as stigma also recognize the right pollen grain, and then only it will be germinated on the stigma, and then after there will be a formation of pollen tube. You can see here, this is a formation of pollen tube. This part is a pollen tube. So after germination of pollen grain, there will be a formation of pollen tube. Inside this pollen tube, there will be a two nuclei initially get developed. At the time of germination of pollen grain, there will be a formation of two nuclei. There will be formation of two nuclei inside the pollen grain, and these two nuclei will be called as, one is called as a vegetative and second is called as a generative. Vegetative and generative nuclei. So these are two types of nuclei present initially. So now it is but obvious, here I have shown differently, but vegetative nuclei will be towards downside. There will be formation of two nuclei, vegetative nucleus towards lower side and generative nucleus will be towards upper side. Okay, so generative nucleus is actual nucleus which is going to take part in the reproduction, whereas vegetative nucleus doesn't take part in the process of fusion of gametes. Okay, so here two nuclei formation took place. Now after germination of pollen grain, once pollen tube formation start, at that time there will be formation of three nuclei inside the pollen tube. So obviously downside one is vegetative, lower one is called as a vegetative, and these two nuclei are called as a generative nuclei. So there are two generative nuclei and one vegetative nucleus formation takes place in the pollen tube. So total how many nuclei? Three nuclei are present in the pollen tube. Once this nuclei reaches till the ovary, let us see the structure of ovary now. Inside ovary there is a presence of ovule. Inside ovary there is a presence of ovule. So this ovule consists of near about 7 cells and 8 nuclei. 7 cells and 8 nuclei. In that there are 3 cells are present at one end, 3 cells are present at another end, and one cell with two nuclei, one cell with two nuclei will be present at middle. So this middle one is called as a polar nuclei. Okay, then at chalazal end, which is opposite to the mating point, that is called as a chalazal end, they are called as, that information is given in your book. Once again you can check it when we are reading. At that time we have discussed about it. See here, I will show you fusion of germ cells. Here I think that details are not given. Okay, so here I will show you the structure. These are called as antipodal cells. Okay, then these cells two which are at opposite to female germ cell. Central one is called as a egg, and opposite to that, at two ends, there is a presence of synergids. Polar nuclei already I have shown you. This is called as a polar nuclei. Okay, so this was about ovule. Now let's see what happened during the process of fertilization. During the process of fertilization, what happened is the antipodal cells remain as it is. First vegetative nucleus and two generative nucleus are coming close to the egg apparatus. Egg apparatus consists of synergid cells and egg cells. First vegetative cell will fuse with the covering and first synergid cell here, and due to fusion this vegetative nucleus will get disappeared. And then only two generative cells will remain. From that, first generative cell will fuse with egg cell to form zygote. So first generative cell plus egg cell is equals to zygote, and this process is called as a syngamy. Now, as this is a fusion of gametes, fertilization has taken place. Now second generative nucleus, first has fused with egg cell. Now second generative nucleus will fuse with polar nuclei. I told you here there is a polar nuclei. So it will fuse with the polar nuclei to form triploid primary endosperm nucleus. As here once again fusion has taken place. Fusion means fertilization. Okay, so first fertilization has taken place. First generative cell plus egg cell to form zygote, it is called as a syngamy, and second generative nucleus fuses with polar nuclei. This is called as a triple fusion to form primary endosperm nucleus. Two fusions means two fertilization has taken place. That's why this process is called as a double fertilization. This process is called as a double fertilization. Okay, so you can understand now, this is the phenomenon which is present only in angiosperms. No other organisms show double fertilization in organisms. Okay, so from this you can understand how important phenomenon is present in the angiosperms, that is in flowering plants. This phenomenon is not available in any other group of organism, that is called as a double fertilization. Once again let me tell you, double fertilization means first generative cell fuses with egg cell to form zygote, second generative cell fuses with polar nuclei to form triploid endosperm. This is called as a triple fusion. First process is called as a syngamy and triple fusion. These are two fusion processes, that's why it is called as a double fertilization. Try to understand this. Question may be asked in the examination as well as in competitive type of examination. Many questions are asked after 10th standard when you are giving some competitive examination for scholarship. That time these questions are asked. Now once zygote formation has taken place, this zygote will get converted into embryo and primary endosperm nucleus will get converted into endosperm. Endosperm during seed formation provides nourishment to the zygote so that embryo formation will take place. So there are two types of seeds, they are monocotyledonous seeds and dicotyledonous types of seeds. Embryo will get converted into plumule and radicle so that root formation and shoot formation will take place at the time of germination. Cotyledons are storing the food for the germination. During germination this food can be supplied to the embryo so that new plant formation or new plant will get developed. So this is about double fertilization in angiosperms, and this is about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Very little part is given in this class, but the same topic as it is topic is given in 12th standard when you have to start prepare for NEET examinations. That time this topic, on this topic, once again questions can be asked, questions are asked, so accordingly prepare for this topic. Here we are going to sum up with this chapter. Next period we will discuss about in-text questions and exercises. Till that time, enjoy, stay safe, stay home. Thank you very much. Goodbye, have a nice day.